I think, yeah, I always like this saying, make things as simple as you can, but no simpler. And I think I strongly believe in that. With from a machine learning perspective, sometimes
Mhm.
people want to build the most sophisticated stuff, but and sometimes people don't dig deep enough. I think it's right to find the correct balance there as a machine learning scientist, and that's very exciting. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Engatica Interview Series. I'm your host Anshdeep Kaur and we're really glad to have Lavanya Tekumalla, consulting machine learning scientist on the show. Welcome, Lavanya.
Hi. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me over.
That's great. So let me brief you a bit about the Engatica Interview Series before we move ahead. So it's a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from around the globe, a platform that provides latest news on AI, automation, and technologies that will help you grow your business. Come be a part of our community, learn, share, and grow with us. So, Lavanya, I have a couple of questions for you. So, as a consulting machine learning scientist, what criteria do you consider when selecting projects to work on? And how do you assess the potential impact of the problem and decide whether to take it on or not?
Right. I think there are a bunch of things that I think about when I come across a potential project. So the first is the project solving a real world problem? Is it solving something for the customer? And if so, like what is it doing for the customer? Right. Um, it could be like, I'm building a model, but what is the customer using it for? Right. And when I think about the impact, it's about, okay, like what kind of change or what kind of help does it do to my customer? And also, how many customers are going to use this? That's also another thing that's often exciting when I actually think about project. um, that said, another criterion is usually how hard is it to solve the problem. So sometimes some problems are they're very interesting but relatively easy to solve. So does it require a machine learning scientist to actually think through this problem deeply, and does it require a fair bit of expertise and to build this technology? Right, that's one thing that one needs to think about. That if it requires modeling effort, then it definitely is very exciting. And that's to think about, what's exciting to me as well. So it's about aligning what you like with what you can do for your customers, right? And last but not the least, I think it's about the team that I get to work with.
Mhm.
So it's always good to have a conducive team who is comfortable to work with and who have the right infrastructure to be able to put your whatever you have developed to deploy it and to test it well. You need to have, like, the support of the team with the adequate capabilities, and that makes a big difference too. So I think, yeah, these are some of the things.
That's interesting. So you have worked on various roles and collaborated with different companies throughout your career. How has this diverse experience shaped your perspective on solving problems and approaching new challenges in machine learning?
Right. I think I've worked in various roles. Of course, I've been a machine learning scientist. Before that, I have always also been a software developer, and I've also been, like, a product manager kind of a role for some time. And
Mhm.
these three always sort of play together when I actually work on a project. There are different aspects of it. For instance, the machine learning scientist side of me helps me to think through the problem deeply and not jump into the first thing that comes to mind,
Mhm.
right? So I want to make things as simple as possible, but no simpler, right? And to do that, the machine learning scientist side of me makes me dig deep into the problem and try to think of all possible approaches before jumping into one. The product side of me actually helps me with customer empathy, to think from the customer's perspective how the actual project is going to be used, right? And the software developer side of me makes me think of what is uh, the the pipeline going to be like, and what is the end-to-end architecture for this, and how well does it tie in with the company that I am doing this for, right? I could give you an example if that helps. So for instance, we were doing this, there could be like, so let's say I'm doing a project for like a sales co-pilot to help people make automatic invoices very easily when they get an email requesting for an item, right? The machine learning scientist side of me would probably look at different ways of identifying these items. Maybe I can just do like a item name match in the database, but that might not retrieve all the items for me. It might not work the best, even though that's like, the simplest problem. And I might come up with more involved techniques to use relationship between various items and more NLP and so on, right? Um, Now, the product side of me would make me think about who's going to use it and how are they going to use it. So let's say if this is a person who is using the software, are they going to see it on the computer, like a list of recommended items in the email, and then they have to pick one of them, right? Is there this manual intervention? That helps me understand, like, should I focus on precision or recall when I pick like possible items from the database? Um, Again, the other aspect is what is the real estate or how much space is there to actually show these recommendations. Maybe they can only see 3 items, so it means that I must make sure that the right item is in the first 3 list of possible matches that I show, right? So I think the various aspects come into play in most of the projects that we, at least that I've worked on, and I think it's a very interesting question. Yeah.
That's interesting. So NLP is a rapidly evolving field with machine learning. So what are the recent advancements and techniques that have caught your attention, and how do you see them shaping the future of NLP applications?
Right. I think LLMs have become really mainstream in NLP, and what required a lot of effort to do earlier um, has become much easier to do because of the kind of libraries that are there. For instance, sometimes they have eliminated an entire tool chain in having to do something by being able to do things like, end to end. For instance, like, the recent few shot learning and one shot learning paradigms have actually made it very easy for people without a lot of prior experience to be able to go and make something work very easily, right? So it's very exciting. And I do think that in the maybe at least in the near future, in my perspective, there was going to be a lot of work on how to actually make these. So the cutting edge research could probably be on open source LLMs that are available
Mhm.
and how to actually make them work maybe with fewer parameters
Yeah.
and be able to do as much as they are doing now. And also, I mean, there are many avenues for research there, but also, like, that's one thing that's very exciting to me. And also, I think the future of NLP is sort of given what we have seen with ChatGPT and some of the LLMs today. Probably, the kind of models that we develop will be based on, being able to do what we are doing now in a more efficient fashion, right? Using different techniques and maybe fewer parameters.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lot more research on that.
That's fair. The collaboration between academia and industry is crucial for advancing research and real world applications, right? So, could you share an example of a collaborative project you have worked on during or after your PhD, highlighting the synergies between academic research and practical implementation?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the projects I have worked on with NetApp during my PhD is a good example, I think. So this was, okay, let me tell you what it tries to do. So the idea here is to figure out what to load into your cache before you actually access it. Let's say you're watching a Disney Hotstar movie,
Yeah.
right? And you watched a part of it, and let's say, I can look at the access patterns of what parts of memory you access when you're watching this movie, and I can say that, oh, I saw this pattern earlier, let me preload the rest of the movie for you to make it really fast so that there are no interruptions. That would be cool, right? So I think this was what that project was trying to do, something like this. So look at memory access traces and try to figure out patterns in them and try to leverage repeating patterns to actually load gigabytes of data at a time, sometimes into cache, so that it's already in the cache before you use it. Now, this was the collaborative. So this was IISc, where I did my PhD, and NetApp, the Indian Institute of Science, and NetApp. So I think it involved a team of people. So while it started as a small problem where I was just like looking at some data set and saw these interesting patterns, eventually it evolved into a problem with we ended up doing weekly scrums because we needed a lot of inputs from the systems side, right? As a machine learning scientist, this is not my domain, but we needed a lot of input from the systems side to understand, how the caching works and, the setup there. And had a team in IISc too. There were like multiple people working there on this problem. Apart from my advisor and me, we had like other people in a team who were trying to work on various aspects of this problem. So I think collaboration between academia and industry helps industry dig into problems deeper, because that's what academia is good at. And it helps academia solve problems that are more real, because that's what the industry brings in. And
That's fair. So with your experience in consulting startups, and what are the common pitfalls or challenges that you often encounter when integrating machine learning solutions into their workflows, and how do you help them navigate these challenges and ensure successful implementation?
Right. So when working with startups, I think one of the most common challenges that I come across is lack of data. So it's essential to first have a good data collection pipeline to collect adequate data, clean data, and maybe first even figuring out what to collect requires some thought. And I think this is the first step when and most companies might not already have data that is readily processable for the problem at hand that you want to solve, right? That's it. Other things like sometimes startups might not have product and engineering teams that understand machine learning very well, right? So usually if you want to make an impact with these problems, it's important to closely work with them. It becomes like the first project is often the hardest, because like everybody is getting to know about what to expect, what it can do, what it cannot do. And I think hence, doing the first project, first ML project is always the hardest in a company. And and sometimes startups do not have well-defined framework for like A/B testing, or figuring out whether what to expect from ML improvements, how to set the right metrics, and even coming up with a deployment plan. So I think these are some of the challenges, and I think it requires closely working with people and setting the right expectations. Mostly talking through this and setting the right expectations, and um, going through this in a systematic way. But the good thing is that in smaller teams, usually teams are very receptive to feedback and things. You can iterate very quickly, and that's always a nice thing to have, I think. So it's always very nice working with smaller companies. Yeah.
That's interesting. Nice. That's interesting. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to access to exclusive content from thought leaders from around